We saw the freshwater polling yesterday, which showed a slump, of course, in the Coalition's primary vote and Dutton's personal approval rating. Here he was explaining those results.
The Labor Party spent $2 million over the last 2 months personally slandering me because they don't have a good story to tell themselves. They've thrown mud and they've done the personal attacks and the unions have done that, including the CFMEU over the last couple of months, so you would expect it to have an impact.
Is this potentially because there's not a great suite of policies to look at the moment?
I don't think it helps. I don't think it helps. So Peter Dutton has an opportunity to cast himself to the Australian public what he's about, because he spent 2 years very effectively attacking Anthony Albanese, let's face it. He's been pretty good at that in the old Tony Abbott way.
Yeah.
But Tony Abbott, he was operating with, much more in the way of coalition seats. He was in the 60s, not the 50s in the first term. And then he was in the 70s when you need a majority of 76 in the second term of opposition. So one of the frontbenchers actually said to me when I said, why are you doing this nuclear thing? Why are you risking it? I mean, 7 federal government-owned nuclear plants. That's kind of the problem with the policy, more than nuclear per se. That frontbencher said to me, well, we have to take a risk in order to win 20 seats, to hit majority. And yet what's happened is I think the polls have gone in their favour, frankly, or very close to in their favour. So they've gone back into their shells and said, oh, we'll leave it for the campaign. So we have a scenario now where on an issue like tax cuts, for example, which I believe the Coalition will promise before the election, it's almost like both sides are waiting each other out on it. The same with what's been talked about is this home battery subsidy. It's been reported. Both sides looking to see what the other do so they can match it, like Peter Dutton did with Medicare. And I guess this is one of the problems with tight elections. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to get beaten by the other side. But he hasn't presented to me enough, and I think this might get commentary on election night, obviously, depending on the result, the alternative vision, how Peter Dutton will change the country. There's a few things. Nuclear, way out in the never, never. I guess you could argue he might do better with the Trump administration. That's very important, if he can get that argument across, carry that across. But what else is there? And I would have thought if you're thinking about tax cuts, better to get out now or 3 weeks ago and prosecute the case. Prosecute the case.
And as if that's not going to be a winner with the electorate. And I think this is part of the problem. You've got to be big and bold. It's not good enough to say, well, I'll go and see what the other bloke's doing and then I'll match it. Because, of course, the major criticism of the major parties is that they just do the same thing with a different colour on the tin.
That's right.
And that's basically what we're seeing, right? Andrew Clennell, thank you for joining me tonight.
Caleb, thank you.